Picture this. A woman in her 50s walks onto a red carpet. No makeup, no extensions. Just her natural face, weathered by time and truth. The cameras flash. The crowd gasps. This isn't the Pamela Anderson the world remembers. This isn't the blonde bombshell who once graced magazine covers and ruled television screens. This is something far more powerful. This is a woman who has finally decided to stop performing, to stop pretending, to stop being what everyone else wanted her to be, and the world. The world is finally ready to listen. The year was 1989. A 22-year-old Canadian girl named Pamela Denise Anderson sat in the stands at a British Columbia Lions football game. She wore a Labatt's beer t-shirt. The camera found her in the crowd. In that single moment, everything changed. The audience cheered. The cameraman lingered. And somewhere in a television studio, executives took notice. "Get me that girl," someone probably said. Within days, Pamela had her first modeling contract. Within months, she was moving to Los Angeles. Within a year, she was cast on a little show called Home Improvement. But destiny had bigger plans. In 1992, she landed the role that would define her career. Lifeguard C.J. Parker on Baywatch. The red swimsuit. The slow-motion running. The blonde hair cascading in the California sun. She became a fantasy. An icon. A symbol of desire watched by over 1 billion people worldwide. But here's what one talks about: behind that smile, behind those famous curves, was a small-town girl who had no idea what she was signing up for. "I was just trying to survive," she would later say. Fame is a hungry beast. And Pamela Anderson fed it everything she had. By the mid-90s, she wasn't just an actress. She was a brand, a commodity. Her image was plastered on lunchboxes, posters, and magazines across the globe. Men desired her. Women either envied or dismissed her. The media treated her like a beautiful object rather than a human being. And then came the relationships. Tommy Lee, the MT Lee, crew drummer with wild eyes and wilder habits. Their whirlwind romance played out like a rock and roll fairy tale. They married after knowing each other for just 4 days. 4 days. The honeymoon was passionate, intense, raw. They filmed intimate moments together, never intending for anyone else to see them. But in 1995, everything exploded. Someone broke into their home, stole a safe. Inside that safe was a private videotape, their most intimate moments. It was like being violated all over again, Pamela later recalled. The tape was leaked, distributed, sold. Millions of people saw what was meant to be private, personal, sacred. Pamela didn't just lose her privacy. She lost her agency, her dignity, her right to control her own story. Tommy Lee's career survived, even thrived. Pamela's reputation became defined by that violation. The late 90s brought more chaos, more headlines, more pain disguised as entertainment divorce from Tommy Lee, custody battles, allegations of abuse. He was charming one moment, explosive the next, friends would whisper. Pamela threw herself into work. More Baywatch movies. Barbed wire. Her attempts at serious acting were met with mockery. Critics dismissed her, called her a joke, reduced her to nothing more than her physical appearance. But she kept working, kept trying, kept hoping someone would see her as more than just a fantasy. Then came Kid Rock, another musician, another whirlwind romance, another marriage that burned bright and fast. More headlines, more scrutiny, more judgment. Why does she keep making the same mistakes? People asked, but what they didn't understand was simple. Pamela Anderson wasn't making mistakes. She was trying to find love, trying to find someone who saw her as human. The 2000s brought new challenges, new relationships, new heartbreak. Rick Salomon, a poker player and entrepreneur. They married twice, divorced twice. The media loved it. Another Pamela Anderson scandal. Another failed relationship. Another opportunity to point and laugh. But something was happening behind the scenes. Something that tabloids missed. Pamela was changing, growing. Finding her voice, she became an activist. Fighting for animal rights, speaking out against factory farming. Using her platform for causes she believed in. PETA campaigns. Environmental. Activism, humanitarian work. If I'm going to be famous, she seemed to say, I'm going to use it for something that matters. The media barely noticed. They were too busy focusing on her love life, her appearance, her latest controversy. By the 2010s, the world had moved on. Younger stars took the spotlight. Social media changed the game. Pamela Anderson became a relic. A punchline, a symbol of a different era. She continued acting, smaller roles, reality shows, dancing competitions. Each appearance was met with the same tired jokes. The same superficial commentary. She's lost her looks. She's trying too hard. Why won't she just disappear? But Pamela refused to disappear. She refused to be ashamed. She moved to France. Found peace in a small village. Started writing. Started healing. Away from the cameras, away from the judgment. She began to rediscover who she was beneath the image. Then came 2022. A year that would change everything. Netflix announced a documentary, Pamela, a love story. For the first time, Pamela would tell her own story, in her own words, on her own terms. But that wasn't all. Hulu released Pam and Tommy, a dramatization of her relationship with Tommy Lee and the stolen tape scandal. Suddenly, everyone was talking about Pamela Anderson again. But this time, something was different. This time, people started listening. The documentary revealed a woman who had been misunderstood for decades. Someone who had endured trauma, abuse, and violation while the world watched and judged. I've never been a victim, she said in the film. I've been a survivor. Viewers saw her without makeup, without filters. Raw and honest and real. The reaction was immediate. Overwhelming, supportive for the first time in her career. The conversation wasn't about her body, was about her humanity. The red carpets of 2023 told a different story. Pamela appeared at premieres and events looking completely natural. No fake eyelashes, no heavy makeup, no performance, just her. Authentic and unashamed. The media called it brave, revolutionary. A statement, but for Pamela, it was simply freedom. I'm done pretending to be someone else, she explained. Yes. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. The world chose to take it. Young women praised her authenticity. Older women saw themselves reflected in her journey. Men who had once objectified her began to see her as a person. Fashion magazines featured her on covers, not as a sex symbol, but as an inspiration. Aging naturally is a revolutionary act. One headline read, at the 2023 Fashion Week in Paris, something magical happened. Pamela walked the runway for Vivienne Westwood. Gray roots showing, wrinkles visible. Confidence radiating. The audience stood and applauded. Not for her body, not for her beauty, for her courage. She's finally free, someone whispered in the crowd, and she was. Free from the expectations, free from the performance, free from the image that had both made and destroyed her. In interviews, she spoke differently. With wisdom, with perspective, with peace. I spent so many years trying to be what everyone else wanted, she reflected. Now, I'm just being me. The transformation wasn't just physical. It was spiritual. Emotional, complete. Pamela began writing a cookbook. sharing her love of gardening, talking about her children, her art, her passions beyond fame. She opened up about her struggles with men, her pattern of choosing partners who couldn't love her completely. "I was looking for validation in all the wrong places," she admitted. But now, at 56, she was finding validation within herself. The media that had once mocked her began to celebrate her. Think pieces were written about her journey, her resilience, her reinvention. "Pamela Anderson is having her moment," headlines declared. But this wasn't a moment. This was a lifetime of strength finally being recognized. In 2024, something unprecedented happened. Pamela Anderson was invited to speak at women's conferences, universities, events celebrating female empowerment. The same woman who had once been dismissed as nothing more than a fantasy was now being hailed as a feminist icon. "I never set out to be a role model," she said during one speech. "I was just trying to survive, to find my way, to be human in a world that wanted me to be a symbol." Young activists sought her advice. Older women shared their own stories of reinvention. She had become something she never expected. A voice for women who felt unseen, unheard, reduced to their appearance. The movie offers started coming again, but these were different. Serious roles, complex characters, stories worth telling. Directors who had once dismissed her began reaching out. "We want the real Pamela Anderson," they said, "not the image, the person." For the first time in her career, she had choices. Agency, control. She was selective, thoughtful, strategic. "I only want to tell stories that matter," she explained, and people listened, respected, celebrated. Today, Pamela Anderson represents something profound, something revolutionary. She represents the power of authenticity, the courage to change, the strength to survive. She shows us that it's never too late to reclaim your narrative, to stop performing, to start living. Her journey from sex symbol to human being is more than just a celebrity story. It's a masterclass in resilience, in self-discovery, in the power of finally choosing yourself. The world that once objectified her now celebrates her humanity. The media that once mocked her now applauds her courage. The people who once reduced her to a fantasy now see her as an inspiration. Pamela Anderson is finally having her moment. But really, this moment has been 30 years in the making. It's the moment when society stopped seeing her as an object and started seeing her as a person. It's the moment when she stopped trying to be what everyone else wanted and started being who she was. It's the moment when authenticity triumphed over performance. It's the moment when a woman in her 50s proved that true beauty comes from truth, from courage, from the radical act of being yourself. And yes, it's about damn time. The little girl from British Columbia who stumbled into fame has finally found something more valuable than celebrity. She's found herself, and in doing so, given permission to countless others to do the same. This isn't just Pamela Anderson's moment. It's a moment for anyone who has ever felt reduced, misunderstood, dismissed. It's proof that your story isn't over until you say it is. It's proof that authenticity is the ultimate rebellion. It's proof that it's never too late to start again. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently about second chances and authentic living, let us know in the comments below. Share your thoughts about Pamela's incredible journey from icon to inspiration. And don't forget to subscribe to Luminoir for more untold stories of resilience, reinvention, and the human spirit, because everyone deserves to have their moment, and everyone's story deserves to be heard.